All right. Well, welcome to the Stretch Thin podcast.
Where we share our experiences and some encouragement as two men trying, not
Not
thriving.
thriving.
Oh,
You were supposed to wait for me, but it's been that long. That's my fault. I didn't debrief. I didn't brief us before so that we were on the same. That's my fault. Sorry.
we missed it. I stepped on your feet.
You didn't. You didn't step on my feet. I got in your way. Keep going, please.
Well, we're trying
And we're not thriving.
in the 21st century. I'm Shannon, a pastor, coffee shop owner, and author.
And I am Joel, a former pastor, now tech professional and author. All right, Shannon, are you ready?
Let's go.
Let's go. Well, I think it's hilarious that we both did not plan this, but we're both not wearing our like dad clothes for this podcast. You're wearing a polo shirt. If the people are just listening, not watching, you're wearing a polo shirt that looks straight out of American Eagle in the early 2000s. Not in a bad way, just a good, like, it just looks like an American Eagle polo of that color pattern. And then I look like some weird deckhand with my quarter zip in light blue shirt, but then also I'm wearing a hat because I'm trying to keep my hair under control. So we are not looking like our typical, hey, we're dads, just kind of chilling dads. This is our business side, I guess. Is this our business side? Did you have a
I
business
don't
meeting today?
know. Hmm.
Did you have like an important meeting that made you have to wear a collared shirt?
I didn't have. I had meetings. Yeah, I did have meetings. I won't say they were like important meetings, but I just was like, I just actually just grabbed it. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just in a hurry to grab something, and this one is probably the most colorful thing in my closet. It caught my eye. I was like, you know what? Okay, let's do colors today. So here we
I
are.
love that.
You know,
Are
us
you?
guys over 50, we have to like do the stripes and then younger guys under 40, the
Oh
cool
my
hip
gosh,
people,
here it is.
they
Here
have
it
to
is.
like.
He's
There's a whole
making this
look
comment
that's
about guys over 50 because I made a comment about how many guys over 50 are just loving AI right now. And that was a whole thing. And it's been a thing for almost 24 hours now that this has gone on, that Shannon has not let that go. For context, everyone, I made a joke because Shannon once again said something about, well, I ran it through ChatGPT or I ran it through ChatGPT, which is nothing wrong with it. It is great to use AI. If you don't use AI today, honestly, like that's like the people that, when the internet was coming out, were like, that's never gonna last. I'm like, yeah, you, if you're still not using AI, I feel sorry for you. Unless you're like some tinfoil person who believes in dystopian that's gonna happen or whatever, and then okay, I get that. But anyway, he was bringing up ChatGPT again, and it's like a regular thing in our conversations. I ran this through ChatGPT. I asked ChatGPT. I said, "What do you think, ChatGPT?" And it's all fine. It's just that for some reason, I keep having these conversations with people or seeing things from people that are over 51, and it's always like, "I ran this through AI," or "Here's a picture I came up with AI," and I'm like, "Why? Stop sending it to me." Now, it's not that Shannon can't. It was just like in the span of a week, I had multiple people over 50 sending me that, and then Shannon. Here's a question: did you ask ChatGPT about this, or was it just your friend that you asked? Okay, it was just your friend, because that would have been perfect. If you're like, Joel said this about me and me talking to you, what should I do? And it would say,
didn't
that's
do
an
it. I
interesting
did it.
thought. And I want you to know right now that you're in the right, and it's okay to feel this way, and it's okay to have this relationship with me. Here's a couple steps that I think you could do.
That would be ChatGPT. Claude would not be that way.
No, Claude, yep. Which there are multiple people that are like, use ChatGPT. You should be using Claude now. It's okay.
Which in after that statement, I was thinking that was your point, was that you were coming from like there's so many more far advanced things. Then you explained to me that you're getting all of these AI generated photos, and people are like sending things to you like, hey, I did this, and because they know that you're in the field of AI
AI, yeah.
and that this is what you do. And so it made so much more sense to me as to like what you were communicating. However, in the moment, it felt judgy that people over 50 are, how silly is it that they're using ChatGPT? And that's not what you were saying, but that's what I heard
We had
at
a fight, everyone. We had a fight about AI. AI is just tearing us apart. Oh man.
and all the bots are listening, going, "Yes."
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Yeah. Mm. Well, other than that, how was your week?
It's been a week, man. It's been a tough week. There's been some good things. My week has afforded me the opportunity to spend a little bit of extra intentional time with my two younger kids, while
Mm-hmm.
my older three daughters and my wife, they took a girls trip to NYC for like 3 days. They did a this was their 2026 birthday gift. They didn't. We decided not to do gifts for their birthdays, but to
It's
do
like an
some sort
experience.
of
Yeah.
an experience. And so my wife and the girls took a trip to New York, and so I got to hang with my son and daughter, my younger ones, and just some really sweet times. I'll touch back to that in a minute when we talk about wins, because that's definitely where my win was this week. That was the family front, was good. The work front was tough. Church front was been a good week. We had a really good Sunday and a lot of great conversation after Sunday with the nonprofit. There's been some good conversation there with people planning and dreaming and hopefully potential more donors. But man, the work front for me this week was challenging, because I just kind of bumping up against small business ownership struggles. Yeah, it. I had I did I won't say I was spiraling this week, but there was some really like, what the heck
Mm.
am I doing? So
Yeah.
how about
That's
your week?
I don't know. That's hard. I agree. I mean, I think similarly. I had counseling Wednesday, and I don't have counseling as often as I used to, because it's not that I don't need to. It's just not as, I don't think, as pressing. But um, similarly, not necessarily with my main work, but with stuff having to do with the app that I've been working on. Like, I realized in counseling that I had, it's called like target fixation, which is essentially, when you're driving, um, when especially if you're driving a motorcycle, people tell you you want to look where you want to go, because if you're going to go where you look, that's the rule. And so if you're someone who looks around, you're just naturally going to go there. So if you're, and it can be the opposite too. If you're like, I don't want to hit this thing, like if you're driving and here comes a curve and you're like, all right, I just don't want to hit this curve. I don't want to go off the road. I don't want to go off the road. Well, if you keep looking off the road, you're going to go there instead of looking where you want to go, which is around the curve, to safety or whatever. And what often can happen is we just get so fixated on something or an idea of something. And as a result, we are frustrated and then angry that it's not going the way we want. And in reality, we should have been a little bit more open minded to seeing, hey, maybe there was another way to go about it, that if we had, it would have, you know, maybe worked better in our favor. And so, and specifically when it comes to being, our relationship with the Lord, is we might think this is how this is going to play out, and the Lord has something else. It's not that He doesn't have that thing for us, but it might be a different way for it to play out to get there. And we're so white knuckled, and so that was my problem. I was realizing, I was like, man, I've just been so angry, right? And I was honest with my counselor. There was this. It was over the weekend. I was so angry. I was just so frustrated, and I'd been just, it's just all this anger pooling up inside me, that when Edmund was having a hard time falling asleep for a nap and like transferring, he was just being difficult. But he's young, he's teething. He's a baby, he can't help it, or he's a toddler, he can't help it. I just got so angry that in a fit of rage, I just smacked myself in the face, and I was like, oh, that has been a long time since I've done that, and I don't like that I did that. That's not good. It's the joke, like the counselor made a joke about you got to channel that, but you can't punch a hole in the wall. And he was like, you know, don't the problem about punching a hole in the wall is, once you've done it once, people think you just punch holes in the wall. Like, it's the same thing about he made this joke. That's why my counselor is fantastic. He was like, it's the same thing. You can spend your whole life baking bread, but that doesn't make you a baker. But one time with a guy, and I was like, you are the funniest counselor I know. If you get what I'm saying, you get what I'm saying. He didn't say it, but he left it. And I was like, that's good. That's good. But he was like, but it's the thing about you have to he the good thing about that is he loves to make it light but at the same time serious, because he knows that's how I operate. Like if we just were serious all the time, it wouldn't be great. But he brought that levity to say like, yeah, okay, let's not going to focus on the hitting of yourself or punching the hole in the wall. Let's focus on like what's got you so frustrated that that's the outlet. Like that is the thing that you go for, is this the symptom of it, right? And it was that I was just like, I've just been so angry about this issue with the app that I'm building. That is a very good thing that I'm building. And I'm looking at the Lord like, hey, why is it taking so long? Why do you keep making me bump against this? Like, for instance, if not to get too much in the weeds, but the way the app works, it's a suicide prevention app. The front end is done. That's like the UI, UX kind of stuff. But the back end is a big part of the functionality of the app, is that you press a button, it sends an SOS text to your friends or family, and it also calls and starts like dialing numbers. And if a couple numbers don't go through, it goes to the suicide hotline, right? That has to happen, or the app isn't the app that I've wanted to make. And I've been trying to use this service called Twilio, and it's just been difficult to get it confirmed and validated and all that kind of stuff. There's hoops you have to jump through because it's really specific. And it just has been months of this, it's felt like. And it's just made me more angry and angrier and more frustrated and more angry, because I'm like, all right, God, are you serious? Like, I'm not just like, I want to make $1 million so I can get a boat or something. I'm literally just trying to make an app to save lives. Why am I going through all of these issues and blocks? And it was this idea of like, essentially going into God's room, busting down the door and being like, what the hell are you doing? Like, get on my stuff. Like, I don't know what you're
Mm,
doing. You need to get here. Okay. And
mm,
then like trying to change everything he's doing. And then because of it, I can't control it. I'm just getting frustrated and angry, and it boiled over into that way. And so he was like, well, one, it's not on you, and maybe there's a different way you need to be doing this. And it was funny, he didn't even have to say much more, because earlier that day I'd like been talking to a friend about it, and he knows a little bit more about this. He's working on this kind of stuff for other things. I said, well, you can try this with Twilio, or you can try this service, or I can even help. Like, we can work together. I can make it work on my end for you, and we can just do that. And like, had I not had that, I was so angry though, in a different way, because then I was like, man, if I had been so fixated on it going this way, I could have had this conversation with my friend weeks ago, a month ago, and maybe the app could be live. But I was so fixated on this, like, I'm going to do it myself. No one else is gonna help me here. I'm gonna be able to say, like, I did this entire thing. And we've said this in polos, and be like, I did it. I made the app. I got this thing done. And in the end, I didn't, because I was just like, I'm gonna do it on my own. And so that was super illuminating for me in my time with my counselor, because it was the realization of, okay, like, yes, I've eased up in other areas of my life, and been able to be better regulated in those ways. And yet I'm so, like, this one thing I was just so fixated on. So it was helpful, and I'm working through it. I'm still working on it, but like, that was really good. I mean, I'd say it was a good and a bad, because, it's the bad was that idea, that me boiling over in that anger into hitting myself. And then the good was finding help, not just through my counselor, but through a friend who's like, all right, let's try to get this going. And so, sorry, that was a long answer to how my week's been, but there
no,
you go.
but so I'm curious with this. I'd like to, like, practically speaking, then, because the whole I mean, I hear, what did you call it? Fixation,
Target fixation.
target fixation. Okay, so I would liken that to uh, having tunnel vision on the, so what is a practical way to break out of that? Like, a practical practice? Did your counselor make a recommendation, or have you tried anything? Like,
Well,
what's like snaps you out of
yeah,
that?
I think because as he was talking about that, I already gave him that. Well, I've actually been asking my friend about this, and he's already helping me, and I'm seeing that this, I should have done this. And he's like, well, yeah, asking for help is a big thing, or getting another person's perspective is another
Yeah,
way to do it. But you have to be receptive to the perspective that you're getting from someone else, because you can ask for a perspective, but you can be completely deaf and numb to it. I think that's a big one, is asking other people. But and I don't think too, like, it doesn't have to be. I don't think it has to be a mentor. It doesn't have to be an expert. It can just be anyone else to give you a different perspective and say,
absolutely.
you're like, I'm so angry about this, and I'm like, it's not happening this way. And for them to go, well, is there any other way you could this could happen, you know? And asking that question back to you, and forcing you, I think, to answer that question is a good thing. Or the person asking it, if someone says, if I'm fixated and someone goes, you know, okay, is there any other way? And then now it's on me to figure out, well, like, I don't know. And then you go,
Mm.
okay, well, maybe look up other ways. Like, that was the thing. Like, I had never even thought to not use Twilio. And like, what if I just decide, like, there are other apps that are easier or better to use? And like, funnily enough, talking about AI, and ChatGPT was like, yeah, there's other apps. I'm like, all I had to have done was type, like, I've been going back and forth with ChatGPT to build this app and working on it. And we've been problem solving and trying to fix this Twilio thing. And I could have just asked, because it's not going to do that. This is the thing about AI. It's so limited in the sense it's not going to go, hey, you and I have been having the same conversation for a month about Twilio, and we've gotten nowhere. Let me suggest some other alternatives. It's not going to say that. It's just going to every prompt. It's just like constantly you're going to be like, yeah, let's try to fix this. Yeah, let's do this. And if had I just asked Twilio, I'd asked ChatGPT, hey, is there another service like Twilio? It would have, which it did. It would say, oh yeah, boom, boom, boom. These are easier, not as official, not as stringent. This one is not a permanent solution. I'm like,
You weren't
it's
asking the right questions.
exactly, and that made me feel so stupid, because I'm like, it it needed me to be the reasonable one to ask the right question, but I wasn't being reasonable. I was so fixated. So I was just like, F, this is stupid. We're going to get this fixed. And it's like, I hear your frustrations. We can do it. And I'm like, ah. So sorry. Keep it. Anyway, yes.
No, it's interesting, and I think it's great to be talking about this, because I think as guys, it's very easy for us to get locked in on it's got to be this way, trying to we're notorious, right, for not reading the directions. We're notorious for not asking for help. We're notorious for, like, it's got to be my way or the highway. And I just think that there's a really powerful lesson in this, in that asking the right questions is one thing, like, rather than why is this not working? Well, maybe there something else, and then
Right.
man, it's gold what you're talking about, and just being able to talk to somebody else that doesn't have to be an expert in the area, but just saying, I'm struggling with this. This is irritating me. And sometimes a person that has no knowledge of it whatsoever just kind of maybe throws a random question in there, even in their ignorance, that causes you to go, yeah, like, why I didn't think of that. Or it triggers something else. And I just see that as being what's kind of snaps you off of that fixation or that tunnel vision, and gets you going, oh wow, I've had my gaze locked on this, and
Yeah.
my eyes are
Yeah.
just like, I can't even break it off of there, and now it is. So I think that's a powerful lesson.
Thanks. Well, so you kind of hinted at a good being the time with your kids. Like, what have been the good match for this week for you?
Um, yeah. So we my the older girls left on Sunday night. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I had Jaden and Ari with me, either here at the office, or I would work from home. Um, but man, Monday, um, I had some time with Ari. Jaden was busy doing something else, and so I had some time with Ari to just hang out. And when we were in Boone, I was gone for her gotcha day,
That's
and
right.
I didn't we planned it, and I was like, dang, and I feel bad, and so I was like, what can I do to make it up to you? And so her ask of me was, well, sometime can you and I go paint pottery together? I was
I
like,
love
yeah,
that.
I've never done that before. That'd be fun.
You've never painted pottery?
No,
Hmm.
no. remember I'm over 51, so there's something.
You haven't done that in your home yet, in your nursing home.
Right, right.
No,
We one day. And so I found a pottery painting class, a place here in town, and we and it was like a walk-in place. So we go in, and she was like, I said, all right, what are we gonna do? And so we're looking at the wall, and she's like, let's do the same thing. Let's do matching things. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So we both painted coffee mugs.
ooh,
We painted uh, koalas. They were koala bears, and
that's
it's a
cool.
koala bear coffee mug, and it was just the most fun experience with her. Just seeing her creativity come out, and her, just focusing on different aspects of the project. And then when we finished, we left, and she didn't. She's like, well, okay, well, what are we doing next? And so I had an appointment later that evening, and someone else was going to get her and Jaden for the evening, and but I still had some time, so we drove over to get ice cream, and she didn't know that that was part of the plan, and so we
That's fun.
we pull up to get ice cream, and she's like, "Oh, I didn't even I wasn't even expecting that," and I was like, "No, I know." And so we're
Yeah, it does.
we're
Yeah,
sitting
I
there,
know.
and she's like, at everything, she's like, "Let's take a picture, let's take a picture," and like, I don't know, man, just spending that time with her was just golden. It was just
How old
so
is she
so.
now?
She's 10,
Gosh,
and
jeez.
and she's our youngest. And the thing is that, and I don't know if you've noticed this yet, but when as we had kids, as a second or third or fourth or fifth kid came along, the one that was the youngest before the next one came along, suddenly, um, when the baby comes, the one above it, all of a sudden, he or she, they just seem so old now. Like, they seem so
Yeah.
much more,
Oh, yeah.
and you're like, oh wow, they're not a toddler, they're not a baby anymore. And for your youngest, I think you can tend to see them perpetually as the youngest, as much younger than what they really are. And so I know I've done that with her. Like,
Mm,
I don't give her enough credit for her critical thinking, and I just see her as, I mean, Chris and I call her and her brother the littles. The bigs are the olders, the sisters, which are 25, 21, and 20, and the littles are 15 and 10. So,
so
we've
funny.
grouped them that way. And but they're not little, and especially, and just spending that time with her, and it was like, man, she's such a deep thinker, she's such a creative, she's
Mm,
just, there's so much about her that I've not seen, because I've seen her as the youngest, I've seen her as
yeah.
the
Yeah.
small one. And it was just a really, really cool moment, to just a cool afternoon to spend with her. So that was definitely probably one of the highlights of my week.
I
How about
love
you?
that. I mean, yeah, I think coming to that realization about kind of where I've been with anger and frustration, that was a big win. But then, um, I don't know, like I feel like for me, I think there was it was even a conversation during counseling about work. And I was just realizing more and more that, like, how blessed I am in the Lord to have the job and the role that I have, and it's just so different. And I even thought about that again this morning when I was talking with someone who knew. Um, they knew me on the back end of my last role, and during that transition period over the last year or so, when I was between the last job at Cisco and this one at NTT, and how the organization was then, how stressful life was, all that. And he was like, we were talking, he's like, so you're going to London, you're going to go to London for work, that's so cool. And I was like, yeah. And it's all this, it's because of this idea that I had for um my role and how I could better serve the company. And utilize the skills and kind of work with my boss and our team. And my boss was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's try it. And like, I'm handling all of it, planning everything. And I'm owning it for my boss so that he just slots in when he needs to. And then the other team does what they need to, and we go from there. Um, and yeah, like selfishly, it's going to look amazing on a resume because if anyone is listening that knows kind of like corporate landscape, go to market is a huge deal in any company. And if you can be able to say, yeah, I was able to drive go to market enablement without even being a seller, but helping sellers, enabling them, and all that kind of stuff, like it's a big deal. And as I go, because it's not just gonna be London, eventually it'll be other places. That's huge. I mean, that's global. Like you literally, I went to London and I went to Berlin, or like Belgium. I went to France and Paris. I went to, South Africa, like all those places. And he was just like, the friend was said, dude, that gets just, he said, I'm getting goosebumps because I remember the conversations we had a year ago when you were in the thick of it. And I remember like how you talked about how the situation was at your previous job and how stressful it was and how things were with your team and your manager, and just how, and now it's like, he's like, it's just such a cool thing to hear. And let alone like, you just, when in that last place, you never would have been able to say, hey, I think we should do this, and let's pilot it in London with this team that already just kind of wants to do it. Never would have happened. And so, I mean, I think to me, it was, even in counseling, like my boss was kind of like, it seems like you're just, the work side has just been a complete 180. Then, because he was with me throughout all of it, and he's like, it's our conversation, like there's nothing. I said it's not even, it's a non-factor now. uh the work in our conversations in counseling. And he's great with metaphors. He's like, yeah, that's like the thing people think about when you get like good hiking boots. If you don't think about them, that means they're good hiking boots. They're bad hiking boots when you're thinking about them all the time. And I was like, yeah, it's totally that. I don't even have to think about it in these conversations about in counseling. I just, works great. Yeah. So, and I have a better mentality too. I'm not, in the past, I'd be so anxious about everything going on, and I need to know what's going on and what people are talking about. And I'm like, if I need to know the information, I need to know the information. If not, I'm just going to keep moving on. Sorry, keep going.
No, but to point back to conversations and even that we've had this past week, to hear you talk about how work used to be and the way you talk about work now, it's I mean, I hear you talk like stressful things, like, or this is frustrating, or but it doesn't sound like it is a job that like takes away from you. It sounds like your work is either, if it's not like, I don't know if we can say it's enjoyable, but you're not hating it, and
No,
you're
yeah, I wouldn't say it's like fulfilling, right? Because people want to say like, it's fulfilling. I'm like, it fulfills the need that I have of it, that it needs to fill, and it's not draining. And I think that's in itself okay. Because oftentimes we'll be like, is your job fulfilling? Make sure your job's fulfilling. And really, it's just, honestly, make sure your job just doesn't drain you. And if it doesn't drain you, I thought that's a win. That's the win.
absolutely.
Is, you can clock in, you do your job, and you feel like it doesn't pull you away from your family in any way, emotionally or mentally or physically, in a negative way, then like that's a win.
It's a
So
bonus if it is fulfilling, but it doesn't
exactly. I
like.
think that's the problem, is we think it's gotta be this like
Yep,
every day is no. That's the bonus. Yeah.
absolutely.
Great. Well, what about, so I know, talking about like the wins and everything. I mean, thinking about, I don't know, this next coming week or the weeks coming, you said that you're going to be out because you're going to be going to Nicaragua. You said work has been stressful with all that, but then church has been good. How is that, the balance of that? Because I mean, you're going to be out now so while you're going to Nicaragua, Pastor Shannon, right? You, what happens to business owner Shannon? And like, how do you balance that? And then yeah, like, how are you feeling about this trip to Nicaragua as Pastor Shannon?
Yeah. So and I've mentioned this before, the beautiful thing about our setup within the coffee company is I've got very capable leaders in place who are specializing in focusing on certain areas that are dimensions of my focus. So we recently just kind of tightened up our leadership structure. So I have a director of cafes who is basically making sure. So we have 4 coffee operations, but we have 2 bricks and mortar cafes. And the 2 corporate locations, they kind of they don't have the same challenges that the cafes have. Cafes have to have someone there to open and close and make
Yep.
sure that the dining area is all. The corporate locations, they don't have that. So it's not that it's easier or less, it's just different. But the cafes, the environment, the ethos, the how it's that's all on us. And
Yeah.
so I've created a role for director of cafes, and she's killing it. She's just, I mean, she's zeroing in on things that I've wanted to be able to zero in, just environment, indoor, outdoor, that kind of stuff. Even today, she just sent me pictures of our Mayfly location up on the mountain where they got up and planted flowers in the boxes, in our flower boxes, that hasn't been
That's
touched
so cool.
since the spring, or since spring's been here. So that's covered. I have our director of coffee, which is he's been the head roaster. Well, he's still the head roaster, but he's also making sure that all of our locations all are doing all of our recipes the same way. All of our baristas have the same training, and that there's a consistency in all locations.
So good.
That's been huge. I have a director of operations who's working to make sure that things like onboarding and interviews and point of sale systems, if there's glitches or if there's an piece of equipment that needs to be serviced, that person has oversight of that and is like, okay, we need to get a technician to go fix this brewer or this grinder or whatever. And then I have a person that is basically our inventory controller. They make sure that we've got everything in all the stores and locations that we need.
Nice.
And we come together every other week and we sit and have conversation and just and that allows me to be able to, to sit with them and say, okay, well, how are we, how can we move forward this way? So yesterday I sat with our director of operations and just said, okay, we're trying right now. We're at a point of trying to increase our average ticket sale by just $1. If we could increase that average ticket sale by just $1, it's small tweaks. And so we're brainstorming about that. And we talk, and she's an implementer. So like last night, she sends a screenshot through, hey, is this what you're thinking and looking at? And I'm like, that's it. Yes, let's go that direction. So that's a long drawn out answer, but I've got quality people, there. From the church side, the same. I've got great leaders. This year, we really made an intentional shift and raising up more people to help with the leadership of the church. I've been pastoring this church for 16 years, and
Wow.
this is a big deal to me. I don't want to be the guy that plants a church, pastors a church, and when it's time for me to move on from here or to there, that it falls apart or it takes a hit because I'm gone. And so, I have no intentions of leaving anytime soon, but I've got leaders that where it's not around my personality.
Right. Yeah.
And so I've got those bases to be covered. So it traveling and going out of the country, those kinds of things are, and then, it's, for me, it's never like it's a convenient thing, but it's not a stressful thing. At least it's not something like I'm going, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. And so I think in all those areas where the bases are covered, and I feel like it's going to be okay.
Nice. Sick. Great answer. That was great. Well, do you want to talk about wins, or do you have any
Yeah.
questions
So
for me, or
no, well, so Joel,
Oh, I
Bro,
just feel like we could go.
you're the
We could.
driver of this thing, and
That's
I
true.
love
That's
how
true.
you drive.
I will say one thing that sticks out in that is the not being the guy, which it is like this. I'm trying to say this without it sounding. It's not diminishing, but people might look at and think you're like, I've got four. I'm a coffee shop owner with 4 locations. That instantly, you're like, that's a big deal. And then I'm a pastor of a church. Both are not like massive operations in the sense of it's like you're not like you don't have like 10 locations. You're not Starbucks. You're not like, and you're also, but your church also is a smaller church. But
Absolutely.
to me, that shows more of the integrity and quality of leadership than if your places were bigger. Because I have been a pastor at a mega church. I have seen how easy it is to once you get to a certain size, you are unable to. I think as you, exactly what you're saying, you're unable to think that way. Talking about like, I don't want it to fall apart if I leave. The problem is so many places get so big because it's been wrapped around the personality and the vibe of the person in charge, and you're unable to not have that be the case. And to me what it shows is when it's smaller but it's running efficiently and effectively, that means it's actually healthier than when they're huge, because so many of the huge places, businesses and churches, are not run effectively and efficiently. They're run the opposite. And I even see it in my own job. I've had so many conversations with this new person that was brought in on not she's not on our team because to save budget, she's in a different team and she kind of is now moving over to ours to help, but she doesn't report to us. And she's asked me multiple times questions that I'm like, the person who asked you to ask me that question didn't tell you that they already asked me that question and I already gave them the information, did they? And she's like, no. And great. Like there's just a disorganization. Or like, why are we making another version of this? We already have a version of this tracker or sheet or whatever. They didn't tell you that we already have that and that I sent that to them, did they? No. Okay. And it's just this like, or we won't CC people or include them on emails, and then they'll ask you, hey, do you have any information on that? Like, you didn't even put me on the conversation. I am not privy to the information, so how would I give you the information now? Like, but because we're so big and we're doing too much individually or as an organization, that as a result it's not effective, it's not efficient. And it's why like corporate America, corporate in general, just always blows my mind, because there's so much money just being thrown at things, in the sense of like, if we just were more efficient, we technically would be getting more out of our employees and more money for our employees because they'd be doing better, more efficient work. And that's what I think is it's so interesting and so much better about your organization within your coffee shop, within Cadence, but as also as a church, as a pastor, is that you have delegated so well and brought the right people in that you run effectively and efficiently, and you get the most out of every single person without burning them out. And it's healthier that way.
Yeah, I gotta say though, I mean, one thing I have like, I am, I am not good at any of these areas. Like and this isn't just false humility, depreciation. Like I mean, I can sit here. I mean, you and we've talked about the week that I've had of like, I found myself in sitting here in my office going, I'm so stupid. Like, I can't believe that I would be blind or not
Right.
give attention to this particular area of the business. I just was doing autopilot, and it caught up with me this week. It was like, dang, like this is bad leadership on my part. This is bad business ownership. This is bad
Yeah.
stewardship.
Yeah.
But the blessing for me has always been that there have always been people around that have been able to step up beside me and help. And one our Lynn, she's our inventory controller. She said it so many times. She's like, God always covers your butt. Like it's just so cool to watch, and I hear that, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool. And then I'm like, yeah, but dang, it would be so nice for me not to do some stupid stuff that I do, so that he didn't have to cover my butt all the time. But like, to go back to your whole situation of, this being so fixated, and then having a conversation with someone and realizing, oh, there's help that's out there. I I still fall short even there, but I have learned that put smarter people than me around me, and I have a much better chance of survival.
I'm the same way. I mean, it's what I've been trying to do with the app is just like, all right, who's a better business mind than I am? Because I don't know nonprofit stuff and I don't know business startups and stuff. One thing I'm very good at is just getting crap done and also getting people to get on board with stuff. I'm very good at evangelizing and conveying messages. What?
And you're good at the presentation. I meant to tell you, like, I was on the Stretch Thin Instagram feed earlier today, and the Stay account popped up, and I read, like, looked at your thing, and I was like, bro, that's catching, like, it's impacting, first of all, and then, but you're good at, that's a strong asset that you have, and I liked it. I liked it from the Stretch Thin podcast Instagram. I didn't even realize it was on that one.
So that's so funny. But no, I will say yes, because like I saw it in the meeting that I had. I think some people think it's, what's the word? Like maybe not politically correct. That sounds like a bad thing, but I'm just honest. And so even in these calls that I had about planning for like this London thing, I'm talking to the people going, guys, the CEO is going to see this. This will look great on our resumes. Let's make it amazing because the CEO will see it and he'll be like, wow, that was great. And it's, some people would say, well, you can't say that. Why would you can't tell people like this is good for your resume. I'm like, what do you mean? What else are we doing this for? Like if you don't think that's a great motivating factor. And that's what I learned more often than not, was the honesty around what really is the why is something that I know I'm very good at conveying. Is what is the why? How can conveying that why in a certain way and empower and galvanize the people? Like that is one of my greatest skill sets. And so that pushes me to be better about how I speak or how I talk about stuff or how I convey things. But I know that's it. Like you can get me in front. It was the same thing with interviews. Get me in front of anyone in person, I will win them over. Put me on just paper, I can't. I will never win, because there are so many people better on paper than I am. And there are people that are better suited for certain things. Better, like you said, there are people who are better for business, or people better for, legal. There are people better for whatever, for money and finance. I just don't. I do not have that capacity in my brain to handle that. And that's why sometimes, like, what did I say this week? I told my wife I felt stretched thin, and then I looked at her and I said, don't say anything, because now that phrase has been tainted, because now if you say stretched thin, it's like, yeah, there's a podcast. And every
You should
time
watch
someone's
the
like,
podcast.
you should listen to the
Absolutely.
podcast. So I can't
You
even
need
say
to go
it.
watch the podcast.
Yeah. But I felt stretched thin because I was putting too much on myself that I didn't need to put on myself. There's a part of feeling stretched thin, just that's part of life. But then that extra stretch was me being like, I'm going to do all this, and going, yeah, like, why did I do that? That's not get me. And the problem is I not having the app out is keeping me from getting to do the thing that I am the best at, which is telling people about the app that is live
Mm-hmm.
and presenting it to people and pitching it to people. Then that unlocks that part. But because I was so restrictive, like, I'm going to do this, like, you're literally hamstringing yourself from doing the thing that
Mm-hmm.
you're so skilled at. Like, why would you do that? Um, so yeah, I agree. I think leaning into those strengths is something that we could do so much better. Everyone says it, like you said, the best CEO hires the best people around him. Like that's the goal. So
I'm gonna hit another thing that you do that I want to commend you for, and we've
what
talked
are we
about
doing?
this.
Why are we praising me today?
I
What is
don't
going
know.
on?
I don't know. I don't know.
What do you
But
need? What are you going to ask me
no,
for?
no. But not only like knowing your strength and knowing your weakness, but to be able to say, I'm good at this. Like, you and I have talked about this. Like, you're able to say, I know what I'm good at. I can win over. Put me in front of people and I can win the room, I think is what you just said.
I said, yeah, put me in
And
any room, I'll win them over.
Yeah, and I I think that it's possible to hear that from a filter of a person like myself who has a hard time like seeing my own strengths, and I hear that and I think, well, gosh, that sounds kind of like he's really proud of himself. He's really, that's not who you are, because
Right.
I
No.
also know that you're very hard on yourself. You're
Yes.
very, like, we were kind of talking about things that annoy us. I asked you this question this week, like, what do you annoy you about? And
That's
you're
true.
like, I don't get annoyed. I just get
I just
angry
hate
with
myself.
me. Yeah. So I don't go that far with me, but you go that far.
Yeah, you're
But
like,
the thing,
what is there anything that annoys you about yourself? I'm like, what is annoyance? I am either like, yeah, I'm okay, I'm indifferent about that, or God, you suck. Like that's all there was. Yeah. Anyway, keep going. Sorry.
yeah, but the fact that, so it's not a matter of being arrogant or stuck on yourself. You're able to say, I'm good at that, and I know that I'm good at that. And golly, I think I wish that I could be more that way. And I think one of the blessings, I think, of just having conversations and hanging out with you is I'm learning that it's okay to say, I am good at this. I am good at telling stories. I am good at interacting with people. I do have a pastoral sense about me that cares. There are good things, good characteristics and qualities about me that I'm not okay. I'm good at it. And
Yeah.
and
There's yeah.
that's a language that I'm not used to speaking. But I think if we could learn as guys to be able to identify our weaknesses and say, yeah, I suck at this, but I'm
Hmm.
actually also really good at this. I think it would be such a healthier headspace for us to live our life, just being able to equally recognize both
Right.
weaknesses and strengths.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's why there's a part of me. What was it? I don't know if I was talking to someone else about this, but eventually, like we're gonna be recording promos for the app, right? And I was like, just get me in front of a camera, and I will crush it. And I am not the person. I don't get anxious. I don't get nervous. I don't flub the what I'm supposed to say. I'm really good at like. And Joanne, I think it was my wife and I, and she was like, she likes to plan out everything she's going to say in any reels she has for her business on Instagram or whatever. I'm like, I was the pastor who did the same thing. Like I was consistent about what I was going to say. I knew what I was going to say, but I just liked having general bullets or ideas with some kind of context, and I would go. And it was never in quotes riffing. It's more that I just go with what the gut is in what I should say, and it usually, and this is not a look at me, but usually the first thing that I go with saying is the best thing that I probably could have come up with, and I just go with that gut. And so I have an idea what I want to say. I say it, and then I'm like, yeah, it's good. I don't need to tweak it too much, because if I did, then it doesn't become as impactful. And so that's why in like a couple of weeks we're going to be recording promos, and I'm going to be saying things like the idea behind the app, like what I want to do in some of these ads. These would play in ads before like videos on YouTube or whatever, or on Instagram as you scroll, and it would be like, uh, I'm not suicidal now, but I was at one point, right? And saying things like that, just things that just grab your, you may not want to kill yourself, but someone might. And here's why this app is important, right? Like just stuff like that. And if it can save one life, then it's worth it. Sign up for the app. And I'm so confident, like I'm going to crush that. It is not a matter of I don't know how it's gonna go. I'm like I'm itching for that date. It's on my calendar. I'm like, I just want it tomorrow because I'm going to crush it. And we just need to get these videos out, because if people can see me talking about it and see my face talking about it, they'll be like, yeah, I'll sign up for that app. Yeah, I'll help support that. Like, exactly.
You are a racehorse waiting for the gate to open.
You know me. I have way too much energy and drive. It's my problem. Well, that was the other thing I think we talked about this week. I know we're going to do the wins. Don't worry, everyone. But like, realizing that, what is it? I've realized about myself this week that it's not that my brain is stagnant water that becomes like septic bile, right? Like a place for bacteria. My brain is actually more like a tumultuous pond that has no release. It's like a whirlpool just moving around and moving around and moving around. And what happens is it's so detrimental if I don't have a release. And that's part of that. I need to be creative. I have to create. And that's why I write, which you and we should probably promote more when we do these things. But like, that's why I write on my Substack, is because I like to write about things I'm thinking and feeling, and that I know other people are probably thinking and feeling. benefit them. And instantly when I do that, it always makes me feel better. It's like this cathartic release of, yeah, okay, I'm good now. I had to get that out of my head because or otherwise I would have just been like mulling it over all day. So
Yeah, it's an outlet, and everybody needs an outlet.
it's true. All
It just
right,
so happens that both of us it's writing. So hey, yes, wins. Let's get to wins.
let's get some wins.
What about your win? I don't think I've heard your win this week. Have you told us
I
your
said it.
win?
I said my win was counseling, and
Oh, okay.
then I think another thing I forget.
We confuse me whether we talk about our good, our bad, and our win, and I'm like, I think I need to get with the program and understand like the good, the win, the bad.
No, a good is just a good moment. A win is something you're proud of. It's the good is like, I had ice cream this week with my daughter. The win could be like, I turned something around that was something I hadn't done before, or realizing something about myself, and I
Fair
said
enough.
I am good
Okay,
about that. Okay.
fair enough.
Goodness. All right. Well, I've got a couple from some people. One is really great. Friend of the show, John McGinnis, great friend of the show. He has said, so he has CTE from concussions and doing hockey and D1 hockey, right? And he has had to get meds to kind of just help with that and fix that. And it's just been as you know, and I know, medication is such a frustrating road and journey. And he finally, over, I think he said like the last week, they finally feel like they got the meds right, and it's been so helpful. And so even just that, like he said, he feels like he's sleeping better. He feels like his mood's better. It's not impacting him as negatively as the other ones did. So seriously, shout out to McGinnis. I mean, he's a
Yeah,
great
for
friend of the
real.
show, great friend of us, and we know that journey of how meds can be. So shout out to that for
We're
that win.
celebrating with
Awesome.
you, John McGinnis. That's awesome.
Yep. What about you? Got some people? I've got more too, but I want you to go.
Yeah. Do you know Will?
Will Vaughn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so he sent in on a text this week. It's Will V. But his win was I actually got to take. Sorry, this is the beauty of downtown Chattanooga. He said I actually got to take this past Sunday off and just attend church with my family. I'm a worship leader who's bad at taking time off, so
He is very bad at that.
it's
I used to be on his worship team, and he would never take off. So that's great.
so yeah, pretty cool.
Wow. Yeah. One we were super cool. Another friend of the show. He's given us wins multiple times. His name is Jason Nichols, and he recently became a CEO of a company. And he's kind of like doing the whole going around team building stuff, representing the company. And he went up to this like fundraiser in Jersey, and they were doing clay shooting, and he had never clay shot, and he literally had like the highest score of the day, beat out this, because it's like in Jersey, these clay shooting clubs are like basically like golf clubs but for shooting clays, and it's a whole membership thing, and it's all prestigious and people need it. And he said he beat this guy who was like, it's his thing. If golf is some people's thing, it's his thing. He has a $5,000 gun. He wears this really nice vest and looks all cool and wears like he looks the part. And Jason was like, I'm in there in like my Oxfords and like almost like a nicer vest, but it's like a kind of Patagonia leather vest or whatever. And I'm just using the rental gun, and I crushed it. I'd never done that before. And he was hitting shots. Like he hit, the guy was like, hey, you should try this because you're doing so well. And he hit those shots. And so he was just like, I'd never done that before. And I think it's so cool because he's older, like not older, but he's around your age. And just to have a moment, here's the cool thing. Shut up. To have a moment when you're not 20 something, right? You're not experimenting with the world, and you've established yourself in a field or whatever, and you do something new, and it's this invigorating experience where you actually do well.
Absolutely.
You like, I think no matter how, like, as you get older, you're like, I live for that, because you don't get those that often as you get
Right.
older. And so I thought that was so cool. And he was beaming when he told me in person. He was just like, I had no idea. And I just did so well. And I was just hitting all these shots. And I'm like, I love it. I love it.
I love that he wasn't like this is that he beat out the professional guy. The guy
I
that
know,
was like,
which is even better. The guy with like the $5,000 gun, like this is what he does.
I
And he's
feel
just
bad
got
for
a
him a
rental.
little. I
No,
feel bad for him
yeah.
a little bit, but not a lot. Hey, let me.
Any other
So
ones?
I've got two more, but I'll just so the next one is from Bert. He said, I've been able to make time every morning when I get to school to actually read a chapter in the Bible, and I usually just jump right into what I need to do for the day. But being able to read a chapter each morning, which has changed my whole day, and simple step, simple thing, and yeah, that it can change your whole day. That's definitely a win.
A friend of mine from the gym, Clint, he said that, and he's a pharmacist who works crazy hours. And he was like, my win is that I've gotten to spend a lot of really good time with my family. They have a young kid, and so it's just huge. And he loves his wife, he loves his kid, and so I know how much it's been awesome. And his schedule's been so crazy. So that's definitely a win by far. Yeah.
Fantastic. So Darren's also been sending in wins on regularly with us, and so this past week he met up with two fraternity brothers, and they met up for just a hanging out for a night. And he said during their conversation, one of the guys that was a fraternity brother asks him about a sticker that's on the back of his phone, and he says that the sticker is actually a talking thing for that he's using. It's three circles that kind of speaks
Oh, that's
to
cool.
the plan of salvation, and which was really cool because not only was he able to tell his friend from college this whole, to share his faith, but there were actually other people at the next table who heard the conversation and chimed into it. And he said it was just a great opportunity just to simply just share what I believe and why I believe it. So really cool for Darren.
I think I'm looking right now. The other win that I got was, this is cool. Talking about this guy's named Tyler, and he started his own business, and it's been really tough. I mean, it's literally it's early stages, right? It's adolescence, and you know how it is when you start your own business and it's that early and it's all on you. And he said, it's been this, like he said, every time you ask me for my win, I feel like it's the same thing. I'm going, God, I need business, and I'm like, I need help. And God goes, here it is. And he just answers. And so it was so cool when I asked him, hey, what was your win? And he goes, once again, God provided business when things were looking bleak. And I'm like,
Man,
heck yes to that.
And for hearing stories like that for people like me, it's like, if he does it for him, he can do it for me,
Exactly.
because
Yeah.
he's a good father. So I just love that.
Sorry,
That's
that
awesome.
always makes me think of that 700 Club meme that I saw a long time ago, where it's like, God, I see what you're doing for them, do it for me. And that, like, how people will post that picture of that prayer of him doing that on different things, and you'll be like, this person, got their, like, just bought a brand new car, and you're like, God, I see what you're doing for them, do that for me too. I'm like, amen, won't he do it?
Won't he do it?
That apparently, and we can be done. Apparently, when someone says, won't he do it? The response is, won't he will.
Okay. Noted. I will, I need to,
And not that it has to be about race, but I heard that from a person from a black church who said that's what they say in the black church is when someone says, won't he do it? You say, won't he will.
Won't he?
I'm like, all right. Okay.
And I'm using it.
You won't. You're going to take it to Nicaragua. You'd be like, won't he?
Won't I will. Won't I will.
Yeah, you'll run that by ChatGPT. Anyway, hey guys, thank you so much for listening to the Stretch Then podcast. Hey, one, like, subscribe, share it with your friends. Also, make sure to text the number. And if you don't know what the number is I forgot it. I had it and then I forgot it. It was like, I know it's 4. Do you know it off the top of your head?
I just dropped my phone.
That is funny. You just threw your phone. I've got it. Hold on, let me go. Yeah. All right. If you don't, text the number 423-210-4777. So that's text WIN to 423-210-4777. Thanks again, everyone. Hey, if anything, figure out your strengths this week, lean into them, enjoy them. And look, I don't think it's too much to say, praise yourself for the strengths that you have. If you're a believer, give thanks to the Lord that he's given you those strengths and lean into them.
Own them.
Own them. It's
Yeah.
okay. And
Yeah.
own them around people and not around people. Don't hide your owning of your strengths just because you're around people. Don't be that. Don't hide your light under a bushel, okay? Let it
Won't he
shine.
do it?
Won't he? Yeah, won't he? Will. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful day. Have a great week, y'all. Bye.
See everybody.